Welcome back to Old Busted Hotness. Today, we're gonna put the motor in. I hope. You can see we have lots of paint that has come off, especially on these lower rails. It's weird, the paint just doesn't want to stick. Bubbles. So we'll just clean it up a little bit. Oh no. Guess we'll tackle this first with the wire brush. So, you see all that white stuff coming off? Gee, can you guess what that is? That's right, Bondo. Now, when we did this car the first time, I swear I did not see any Bondo there. So, yeah, every time I dig into rust, what do I find? Bondo. So, whoever did the welding on this job, looks like they braze welded even. Like they thought they were doing something with copper or something. You can see all that brass in there. Pretty bad job. But that's what you expect. It completely rusted through this panel and the panel behind it. So we're gonna have to cut this panel out and the panel behind it. So you can see that I'm very carefully grinding away the spot welds, trying not to get into the panel below it. I don't know how much rust is in there, but I want to get to it and get it cleaned up before I start deciding how much I need to remove. I should be able to keep everything that is under the spot welds and just cut out the center part of it. So I got to get the top layer off, which I'm doing right now. And here's a shot from the back that shows the holes where the rust has come through. The holes up above are where I cut it through. That's the first layer. And then you can see that lip where the second layer starts, the actual outer fender well. So I hadn't cut all the way through, but that's where I have to cut for the first layer. So you can see that I've been peeling it up as I've been getting it off, trying not to do as little damage to that under layer as possible. Sometimes when you use a spot weld drill, you go through both layers, and that's not what I needed here, so I just took the time with that one. Now I'm banging it out. I'm pressing it back out so that it don't have to put in any Bondo back in. I mean, there's no reason there should be Bondo in this section. It's easy enough to pound that plate out and get it flat. So I'm flattening up the edge, prepping it for the first plate, which here I'm cutting out. And then I put it in, fit it in, make sure it's got a nice tight fit. Grind down any edges so it fits nice and flush all the way around. This one has turned out to be actually really flat. Didn't really need to put any bends in it or anything. So then we get into the tack welding. Tried to tack it in, little tacks everywhere. Try not to get it to warp. Try and keep it nice and flat. Of course, there's some times when it busts out. There's still the sheet metal so thin. Get this one all tacked in. Voila! Grinder flat. None of this is going to be visible, so it's just a matter of making it flat. Now this is some stuff I use at my job. It's a rust converter, so any existing rust, it changes, stops it, covers it, and it also coats plates, steel, so that it makes it hard for rust to even start. It's just a matter of squirting it on there. letting it dry. Kind of gives everything that nice black look. Another coat just to make sure, because this is going to be in between two plates. And then I went ahead and put some weld through rust preventative paint on it. As I weld on the second plate over this, it'll help protect that lower plate from the rust. So here's the second plate, and here's the second plate installed. I had to bend some little ears on it, some little tabs to make it form in, and I drilled holes in it, which I will spot weld, and then when I grind them, I won't grind them completely clean, and they'll look like original spot welds. And so the plate, except for along that top edge, I don't really need to weld too much on it. Just get it pressed on, get the spot welds done, and it'll look just like it was never replaced. So as I start to weld up these spot welds, you can tell that they're just kind of randomly placed in the metal. I looked at the other side to get kind of a location, if there was any kind of measured location for these spot welds, and back in the 1970s this was all done by hand with a big spot welding machine, so they just kind of put them wherever they thought it was necessary to hold it. So I didn't measure anything, I just kind of imitated what the other plate had. Here I am grinding all the extra weld off and gonna grind the spots, and then we'll give it a coat of paint. So a good wipe down on a rag. And then I've recently learned to love paint prep. Seems to clean the material up, get all that wax and grease off. I go real liberal. Now from Eastwood, rubberized rust encapsulator. So this should keep moisture out of everything, back and front. Coat it all up real good. This is different stuff than we put in here originally. This is, the original stuff is just an undercoat. So this is supposed to be an undercoat type paint, but it doesn't let rust get in there, and if rust does start up in there, it doesn't let it grow, according to Eastwood. We shall see in time what it actually does. So a couple of coats of this, and I think we're ready to move on to the next step. We're gonna put the motor in. I hope. We'll see. Alrighty, get the engine off the engine hoist and onto the cherry picker. And then let's install a brand new oil seal for the rear crank. And we just got to get it in here without messing it up. So, as usual with all assemblies, lots of lubrication everywhere. They make a tool to install these, but who can afford those? Nobody can. So how many of you have taken the flywheel and put it on next, even though you swore to yourself that you wouldn't forget to put this on before you put the flywheel on? I know I have. I'm using high strength Loctite, and that is all you need. You don't have to cover all the threads. You don't have to fill all the threads. There's not much space in there once the bolts are screwed in. So it's just a matter of giving these bolts something to jam in there so they don't back out. Because that means you gotta pull your engine out, pull everything back apart again, your clutch. Okay. Going to need... Alright, I'm gonna need your help, actually. I need you to hold that wrench.
I mean, I can just hold it.
Oh, we have it. Alright. Okay. Just hold on to that, keep it from going up. It's gonna want to go
Okay.
up on you. I don't know how much force it's gonna take. It shouldn't take too much. Okay, a little
Oh, wait,
more
wait,
than
this is better.
Ah, there's one. Okay. Alrighty. And remember, boys and girls, untorque your torque wrenches, or they ain't doing you no good. Now for the clutch. The clutch needs a clutch alignment tool, which I thought I had. Come to find out, it's the wrong one. Wherever it went. So I had to make one, which I've done lots of times with sockets. So first you find a socket that fits in the main part of your crank without much play, and then you stick it in another socket which fits in your disc, and I use tape to space up to make it fit the right diameter. So there it is. Whoa! Almost dropped it. Let's see, this goes on. Hey. Light in here?
Yeah. What are you looking for? Another unboxing?
Alright, so we got the motor put together. Let's put it in the car. Finally. After all this time. So we're gonna put a little grease on the shaft and it goes in against the bearing or the bushing. Just a tad there, like that. All that for that.
Great.
Let's do this.
Everybody goes to town.
Action.
Okay, here we are, the big moment. Motor in the car. And there she is. So, next episode, get all the things on it. No. Next episode.
Well,